Hi everyone. I didn't even know where to start with this because I feel ridiculous. I made such a big hoo-ha about moving to Perth. Just a few weeks ago, I've been telling you about my journey to move here and how I was about to go find a job and all of this. And 1 month later, I'm leaving. That's right, next week I am leaving Perth for good. And I know you're thinking, Christianne, why on earth would you be leaving Perth after just 1 month? You may have a lot of questions and I have all of your answers and we're going to go through them in this video. So let's recap the facts briefly. I bought my first property, a flat in London, last year because I thought that that was what I really wanted in life. And what I have realised over the past year is that actually living alone while self-employed in London definitely was not the lifestyle that I thought it was going to be. I wasn't truly deeply happy. I didn't feel like my life was progressing in any way whilst I was in that particular situation. I got the news that Australia immigration changed their working holiday visa rules, which means that for UK citizens, you don't have to do your 88 days regional work in order to get a second year working holiday visa, which was particularly important for me because I completed my first one 10 years ago, never completed the farm work and never thought that I would be able to work in Australia. But when the new rules came in, suddenly I realised that I was eligible to do not just 1 more year in Australia, but 2 more years of a working holiday in Australia. And so with things not going quite as I had hoped in London, I decided that I was going to move to Australia. And the original plan as of earlier on this year was to move to Sydney. However, back in like April, my boyfriend who I was doing long distance with at the time actually got a job in Perth. And I was like, well, my sister lives in Perth. My nibblings are here. I know Perth really well because I've been coming here pretty much every single year for the past 12 years. And now my boyfriend's moving there too. It seems like this is where the stars are aligning and this is where I'm moving to, my new life in Perth. And at the beginning of September 2025, I moved here and I thought that this was going to be my brand new chapter.
Turns out it was just a prologue.
Basically, and in short, my boyfriend's job contract has changed quite unexpectedly. And so for his work, he is going to be heading over east. And hearing that news, as you can imagine, is very discombobulating because we did initially want to go over east. But since he was in Perth and my family were in Perth, I then got really excited about moving to Perth. And so it's really kind of forced me into doing some big thinking early on about what I really want, what I want out of this working holiday visa, where I want to be in a few years' time. Should I just stay in Perth without my boyfriend, continue with the plan of finding a job here, finding flatmates, do long distance and then move over east at some point next year? My family were like quite in favour of that because they were very excited about the fact that I was now living in Perth. But ultimately that just didn't feel right. And so the decision is we are going to be moving to Sydney and we are going to be leaving next week. I'm going to need to pack up all my things again. I knew I was going to have to pack up my things at some point, but I wasn't expecting it to be this soon. But I know, I want now to leave sooner rather than later. I had literally just started putting my CV together, looking for jobs. And the day that I was about to apply to do my white card construction training, which is like a day online course, and it's something that I definitely would have needed if I wanted to get a job FIFO working in the mines, which is something that I was hoping to do whilst in Perth. The day that I was about to apply for that was the same day that we got this news about my boyfriend's job change. So then I was like, okay, if we are going to move to Sydney, I actually don't think that I'm going to be looking for that same kind of FIFO line of work over there, mostly because I know it's just not as popular over in Sydney. And so there's no point in me even doing this white card training anymore. Not only that, but I think we need to move sooner rather than later so that I don't waste any more time. Because if I know I'm not getting a job in Perth now, the longer I spend here is arguably not time wasted, but it kind of is time wasted of that job searching time. And I want to use that time in Sydney. And time is precious. And also in terms of just the seasons and it going into the summer season, I think it would be good for us to arrive in Sydney right at the start of that as opposed to like somewhere in the middle. So now it feels like everything's happening really quickly. We've made this decision to move to Sydney and I'm getting really excited about it because obviously this was the original plan. And I know that there will be so many exciting opportunities in Sydney. I've got loads of friends in Sydney who I'm excited to see. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of unknowns about this move as well. What has been really good about this month in Perth is that I have been able to spend some proper quality time with my boyfriend. And previously we have not wanted to jump into moving in together immediately, just to not rush that phase of our relationship. But over the past few weeks, we were able to like trial living together. We was together house sitting my sister's place, and we realized that we think we are now ready to move in with each other, and we're really excited about that. And so that's been a really nice realization, and also knowing that we are going into this unknown of Sydney as a team. That feels really exciting, and it feels really right. Now my parents are flying over to Perth for Christmas, so the family Christmas is going to be here in Perth. So we're going to need to think about what we're going to do there, because we'd absolutely love to come back to Perth for Christmas, but the flights are bloody expensive that time of year. So that's still up in the air, and that's kind of adding to the scary part of moving to Sydney without a clear plan. What I do know is that I will be coming back to Europe mid-January, probably for about a month, because the last 2 weeks of January I am hosting my group ski trip in Austria, which by the way is on sale now. So last year, if you don't know, I hosted the first ever Backpacking Bananas group ski trip, a week skiing in the Austrian Alps. We essentially rented this huge chalet for the week, which is gorgeous. We had our own private Finnish sauna, we had our own hot pool, we put on a buffet breakfast every morning, we had a chef cook our meals in the evening, and then most days we would be out on the slopes. We had the Zillertal Super Ski Pass. I learned that the après ski scene in Austria is so much fun. We also did extra activities like ice skating disco, night tobogganing. We went on a clubbing night out in Meyerhofen. It was so much fun. It was such a success that in January 2026 we are actually running 2 trips back to back. I'll put the dates on screen. I will be there obviously, and that is actually the only thing that I'm planning on leaving Australia / Sydney for in the next year. And for now that will be the last Backpacking Bananas group trip as well, because I am wanting to focus on my life in Australia at the moment. So if you are keen to come on that, we'd love to have you, and there will be more details in the description. But then after that, unless anything else changes, it will be back to Sydney again, continuing with my working holiday visa. But anyway, some more exciting news to add to the mix. So next week we are leaving Perth to head to Sydney, and we've actually decided that we are going to drive there. It would be about a 5-hour flight or 5,000 kilometers worth of driving, which we are deciding to do. The practical reasons for that are, one, as you may know, I have a lot of luggage. I have 2 massive suitcases, and I've also accumulated a bunch of other things in the past month. Obviously my boyfriend has all of his belongings as well, including his car, and for his work he would really like to have his car as soon as we arrive in Sydney. And so we were like, okay, logistically it does make sense for us to drive there, but also I think it's going to be a really good adventure. We've decided that we're not just going to drive straight through the country, although that would be shorter, because we don't have a 4x4. My boyfriend's car is a Mazda 6. Not only that, but this is a huge journey, and we'd obviously love to do some sightseeing along the way. So we are going to be driving to Sydney via the southern coast. We're going to be heading down to Margaret River, through Albany, Esperance. We're going to be driving across the mighty Nullarbor crossing before reaching Port Lincoln, Adelaide, which I've never been to in South Australia. We're also going to pass through Melbourne before eventually arriving in Sydney. Now, like I said, this is going to be over 5,000 kilometers of driving, doing it via the southern coast. It's about 55 to 60 hours of driving. So we have decided that we are going to be doing it over the course of about 3 weeks, which we felt like would be a happy medium between getting to see sights along the way, but also not taking too long, as we literally have 1 week to plan this road trip and also 1 week to save for it. So basically no savings whatsoever. We are going to be doing this trip on a bit of a budget. Like I said, we're literally just going to be in my boyfriend's Mazda 6. We do not have a 4x4. We do want to keep the accommodation cost budget friendly if we can, so we'll stay with friends and family where we can. We're going to be camping for probably most of it. We've bought ourselves a swag tent and we're going to be staying in camping sites, but also we know that that's probably not going to be comfortable for the whole trip. So we are also going to stay in hotels, Airbnbs along the way, wherever we see fit. So with this lack of planning and this lack of budget, this road trip across Australia is going to be part relocation, part adventure, but probably mostly chaos. And I'm going to be vlogging all of it, obviously. So you may be wondering, okay, so you'll arrive in Sydney and then what? Oh, I don't exactly know. We do not know what suburb we're going to live in yet. I do not know what job that I'm going to do in Sydney. I would obviously love to live in the kind of Bondi beachy region, but I do know that those suburbs are a lot more expensive. So I think it's going to be a little bit experimental when we get there, seeing what we can get for our money, seeing what we are willing to compromise, seeing what the job situation is like when I get there, and if that influences where we live. Like I said before, FIFO work is not really such a thing over in Sydney, so I don't think I'm going to be looking for that type of work anymore. So I am going to need to rethink. I feel like doing something weird and side questy there. I feel like also that's what working holidays are all about, to kind of do jobs that you would never normally do. So I would love to explore a few unusual options. You may know I have absolutely zero interest in working in hospitality, so that's off the cards. That's what most working holiday makers do, but that is not for me. But what I do know is that I am going to be ready to job hunt as soon as I arrive. I might even start looking whilst we are on the road trip to see if I can secure anything on arrival. I do not know how realistic that is, but I feel like, especially because I was planning on starting to work in Perth kind of at the beginning of October, and that's not happening, I'm like, okay, when I arrive in Sydney, it's go time. I can't fanny about anymore. I will be ready to work. I really don't have all the answers. It is a bit scary to think that, like, I just don't know what life is going to look like when we arrive in Sydney. But it's exciting, and working holidays should be exciting. So yes, I moved to Perth, only to leave 1 month later. But clearly, life does not always follow the timeline that you have in your head. Sometimes it throws you some pretty big plot twists consecutively all in a row. And those are just the curveballs that you've got to work with. It's character building, right? That's what I always try to tell myself whenever anything's challenging. It's character building. This is for the greater good. I'm going to be a better person after this. I can handle anything life throws at me. And that's it. And you can expect to have a lot more frequent updates from me from now on. I feel like you haven't been seeing any of the regular things that I've been getting up to in Perth, so I am going to vlog my last week here, and then it will be time to start making our way across the whole country. So please subscribe if you want to keep updated with how this all goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.